For decades now, the man at the top of the heavyweight boxing division has been known as the baddest man on the planet. From Muhammad Ali, who could float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, to the savage Iron Mike Tyson, heavyweight boxers have always captivated the people. And today, we're going to look at the 5 behemoths dominating this division. To do this, I'll be giving them ratings in 5 different qualities that it takes to make a great boxer. First, we'll look at their power. This will be judged by how often they knock down or knock out their opponents. Hand speed will be judged by how quick they throw their combos, endurance to see how tough they are, how much punishment can they take to their body and head and keep fighting, gas tank to see how well they manage their energy so they can still fight in the 10th, 11th and 12th rounds. And of course their technique. This is everything they have in their toolbox, from footwork to head movement to downloading and adapting to the opponent's strategies. After all 5 of these traits are taken into consideration, we'll give them a star rating out of 5 stars. So without further ado, let's scope into the first behemoth of this division. And when I say behemoth, I mean that quite literally, because the first man on our list is none other than the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. Hailing out of Manchester, England, Tyson Fury stands in at a whopping 6'9" or 206 centimeters. He is undefeated at 34 wins, 0 losses and 1 draw, chopping down any dosses they put in front of him. Fury's reign as the lineal heavyweight champion can be attributed to a wide variety of things he has in his arsenal. There is no way someone as large as this titan should have the footwork and head movement that he has. But he still does. He's figured out ways to outbox technicians like Vladimir Klitschko and knockout artists like Deontay Wilder. He bobs, weaves and moves around the ring as well as any middleweight does, while he has the power of the heavyweights. While he has recently gone through some controversy in his career after being dropped by the first-time boxer Francis Ngannou, I won't really be taking that fight into consideration when giving him points for the different stats, as I don't think this is a true reflection of what Tyson Fury can really do. At the end of the day, Tyson Fury has definitely proved his mettle and been in the ring with some of the toughest opponents. Getting up off the canvas after taking a Deontay Wilder right hook was one of the most impressive feats we've seen from any boxer. Now that we've had a closer look at Tyson Fury, when it comes to power, I don't think we can give him any less than a 9. His hand speed is mesmerizing and he has a super fast jab. Here again, I don't think we can drop any less than a 9. Fury has been knocked down a number of times, but he has always shown that he has the chin to get back up, so here I think we give him a 10. Fury shines in the championship rounds, we've got to give him a 10 here too. And finally, technique. If Fury's got a 10 for endurance and gas tank, then of course, technique being his best trait is obviously going to earn him another 10. With all that being said, it's time to wrap up these scores and give our Gypsy King a final rating out of 5 stars. And we are starting off huge with a whopping 4.8 out of 5. Tyson Fury definitely has set the bar super high, but we have 4 more contestants to get through for the end of this video. So let's move on to our next competitor. And going from Tyson Fury to the man who's been his most formidable opponent yet, the man with an atomic bomb in each hand, the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder. Wilder was born in 1985 in Alabama, USA. He comes in at an impressive height of just over 2 meters, with a formidable record of 43 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. Those 2 losses and 1 draw being just against Tyson Fury. You best believe any competitor stepping into the ring with the bomb squad will get a chill down their spine when they feel that power. Many do believe that Deontay Wilder has the most powerful right hand in the history of heavyweights. And we can see why when looking at his record. 42 out of the 43 wins that he has are by knockout. The bronze bomber tries to never leave the decision to the judges. It is difficult to say how strong his chin is, since Tyson Fury is the only person to have ever dropped him. Deontay Wilder is definitely always game, and is always looking for the knockout and trying to put his opponent to sleep with that right hand. He hasn't been too shy to admit that he isn't the most technical boxer. Having said that, he has the heart of a warrior and the never quit mentality that's brought him to where he is today. Now that we've checked out Deontay Wilder, it's time to go to the score sheet and give him some stats and see where we'd rate the bronze bomber. If there's one thing we've covered while talking about Deontay Wilder, it's that the man has power and more power, so how could we give him any less than a 10? As powerful as Wilder's hands are, you don't often see him stick behind a lot of quick jabs and combos, so for hand speed, we're going to give him a 7. Even though it was only against Tyson Fury, the fact that Wilder was knocked out twice has to drop his endurance down to a 7. The bronze bomber ideally tries to get the KO early and has been seen to look a bit weary in the later rounds. We're going to give Wilder a 6. And lastly, as I've mentioned before, Wilder doesn't keep it a secret that his late start to boxing has given him a disadvantage in technique. So we're giving him another 6 over here, which brings the bronze bomber's total to an overall respectable 3.6 out of 5. That being said, we have 3 more phenomenal talents to get through, one of which holds all the belts that Tyson Fury needs, and they will face off in Saudi Arabia soon. That man is none other than the phenomenal Alexander Usyk. The Ukrainian sensation cleaned out the cruiserweight division in no time and felt that there was no other competition but to move up to heavyweight. Since moving to the heavyweight division, he has remained undefeated against some formidable opponents, coming in at a bit shorter than our previous 2 fighters at only 181 centimeters. This former Olympic gold medalist has a perfect professional record of 21 wins, 0 losses and 0 draws. While he may lack the knockout power that the other heavyweights have, that doesn't seem to have stopped Alexander from getting the win time after time. His elegant footwork and evasive head movement, which is often attributed to traditional Ukrainian dance, has been fundamental in helping him gain the victory against most of his opponents, especially in the heavyweight division. His amateur pedigree is very noticeable when watching him patiently pick apart opponents, downloading the information to punish them later. His lightning-fast reflexes, hands, and keen focus seems to be another key to his victory. This and his endurance doesn't seem to fade from the time the bell rings until the time the final bell closes the match. This is most noticeably seen when Usyk took on his most challenging fight yet in the form of Anthony Joshua, going in as a huge underdog, mainly because of the size. Usyk was able to stay calm and figure out a way to snatch all of the belts from the previous champion, despite all the odds. Now let's see what that means for Alexander Usyk's stats. Being smaller than the other heavyweights, his power has to be at a bit of a low 6. On the upside, losing some of that power does grant him some extra hand speed, putting Alexander all the way up at a 10. Alexander definitely can handle all the heat, but he has been shown to take some body shots a bit worse than others, lowering his endurance to an 8. His smaller size does afford him a much more manageable gas tank. We're giving Alexander a great 10 out of 10. And finally, for his strongest suit, his technique, Alexander the Cat gets a 10 out of 10 here too. And now for the moment we've been waiting for. These whopping stats gives our next gladiator a very respectable 4.4 out of 5. And wouldn't you know it, back to back action, because the next man on this list is Alexander Usyk's former huge rival and fellow combatant fighting this weekend on the heavyweights card in Saudi Arabia, Anthony Joshua. AJ, born in 1989 in Watford, UK, comes in at 198 centimeters. His record pretty astonishing at 26 wins, 3 losses and 0 draws. AJ has only lost to 2 fighters, one which has been avenged against Andy Ruiz Jr., and the other 2 losses quite recent against Alexander Usyk back to back. From the start of AJ's career, he was thrust into superstardom with his knockout power and Greek godlike physique. He had taken the heavyweight boxing scene by storm as a young boxer. Even with his tremendous physique, AJ seemed to throw combos like a much lighter man, with one of the most entertaining things about him being the way he could sense his opponent's end and finish it, like a shark smelling blood in the water. True superstardom, however, would come to AJ when he would take on his biggest opponent yet, the former king of the heavyweight division, Vladimir Klitschko, where he not only beat the champion, but knocked him out, doing what Tyson Fury formerly could not do. Having said all this, AJ is not without his flaws. Being dropped by Andy Ruiz Jr. and Vladimir Klitschko has led to people questioning AJ's chin. His size may also be the reason he doesn't move around as much as other boxers, such as, say, Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. Having said this though, it's time to look at what kind of points we can give him in each of his stats. Anthony Joshua made his name as a powerhouse and remains a powerhouse. We're giving him a 9 out of 10. Though his hand speed might not be on the level of Usyk or Tyson Fury, he still has quite respectable combinations. 7 out of 10. As mentioned before, AJ has hit the canvas numerous times, and sometimes not recovering. His endurance goes down to a bit of a disappointing 6 out of 10. That large physique doesn't allow much of a gas tank either, so we've got to drop him down to a 6 out of 10 here too. And finally, an 8 out of 10 for technique, as AJ's technique and combos aren't so bad that we can give him a low score, but not quite high enough to kind of reach the ceiling of the true technician. So all in all, our boy AJ is getting a solid 3.6 out of 5. And just like that, we have made it to the final warrior on the list. And for those of you fight fans waiting to guess who it is, I bet this is gonna take a lot of you by surprise. We have the young sensation Jared the Real Big Baby Anderson. Born in 1999 in Ohio, USA, this young prodigy has been taking the world of heavyweights by storm. There are probably a few other heavyweights that could have made this list, but I thought leaving space for someone young and upcoming would be a lot more exciting than fighting for 5th place. And let's face it, the Real Big Baby does seem to have what it takes to make it up there someday. At first glance, Jared Anderson does seem to have it all. He has a 15 out of 16 knockout ratio. He seems to be mentally focused enough to stay sharp all through the fight. He moves quite well, cuts the ring off, throws loads of combinations. There's only one problem with rating him. Since he's so fresh into the sport of boxing, he hasn't fought many tough oppositions. So it would be slightly unfair to rate him as high as some of the other boxers just because he looks as good against worse opposition. But we are going to try our best and be fair and give him a decent rating anyway as a top 5 competitor. With a 15 out of 16 knockout ratio, there's not much lower than a 7 we can give this guy. Regardless of the opposition, hand speed looks pretty good either way. So we're going to give him another 7 here too. When it comes to endurance, I feel like this is where we've got to see him tested against someone tougher. So we're going to give him on the lower end at a 6, as well as another 6 for gas tank, since we don't know how far he can go in a really competitive match. And finally, we do need to see more technique, as I've said, going against someone more competitive. So we've got to give him a 6 over here too, which all in all is pretty respectable. And I think Jared Anderson, the big baby, gets a pretty respectable 3.2 out of 5. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments which weight division you'd like to see me do next. Till next time.